Welcome to Getting Wicked Smart, Lesson 2. The most influential part of a child's life is during their most formative years, in which the governmental schools indoctrinate the minds for 30 hours a week from preschool to 18 years old. Give me a child until he is 7 and I'll show you the man, Aristotle. A society is altered every generation. A new culture is born. The difference of beliefs between baby boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. This cultural shift is evident. Culture is the sum total of ways of living built by a group which is transmitted from one generation to the other. President Bill Clinton remarks on the Columbine shooting is because of a changing culture. The culture changes via a totalitarian tiptoe, so gradual most people do not see it. You can see this change in society via language and symbols, like the Starbucks logo, which was originally a seductive, naked siren, to what it is now. Or language, how that's bad. Would be a terrible thing, but today it's a good thing. The way the culture changes from televised shows of I Love Lucy, not sleeping in the same bed as her husband because it was too immoral, to showcase today via television, social media, and YouTube algorithms. Wet ass pussy. The artist Cardi B, not only sponsored by McDonald's, interviews presidents like Joe Biden, which shows the governments want to remove morals in society. To educate a person in the mind, but not in morals, is to educate a menace to society. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Morals are removed from school and pop culture. The importance of morals builds a foundation of a great life, and those principles reflect into society. Having a moral compass is the main weapon against addiction, because this is a spiritual battle. Our great war is a spiritual war. Sex education becomes the main weapon in an ideological war against the family. Its aim was to divest the parents of their moral authority. The power of this life force energy, which is the number one drive of all biological life, the government schooling system hijacked. Because the mojo, like Austin Powers, crikey, I lost my mojo, is so powerful, it will make the kids question the parents' moral authority. This is why sex education is taught at schools. Its main purpose is for downgrading parental authority, making the youth question the morality of their guardians. We are told sex ed is for safety, just like removing God out of the classroom was because of church and state. But the real reason was when you answer to a higher power, you are more independent. If you only answer to a higher power and not any other authority, that's a problem for the state. The state wants to be God, the ultimate authority, like Julius Caesar, who was not just viewed as the state, but he was viewed as God. The mafia calls their bosses the gods. In all classrooms underneath a tyrannical regime like Hitler, Mao, Kim Jong-un, or even Dwight Schrute, will always have a painting of their ruler to resemble God. It's all about power over the children that turn them into collectivists and not individualists. The philosophy of the schoolroom in one generation will be the philosophy of government in the next. The rewriting of textbooks was changed the behavior and thoughts of the new generation. Nation at Risk, 1983 report. Its publication is considered a landmark event in modern American educational history. The educational foundations of our society are presently being eroded by a rising tide of mediocrity that threatens our very future as a nation and as a people. Since 1960, the SAT scores annually have been declining, although it is said to turn around in 1995, but The reason why is because of the recalibration of the scores, which makes it easier for students to get higher scores. By recentering the scale of the grades, the average student will get higher scores. Just because someone passes does not mean that they are wicked smart. This is the same reason why narcissistic disorder, an epidemic no one's diagnosed with, because so many people would be labeled mentally ill with this disorder in our culture. The institutions just removed it from being a disorder. Testosterone levels as well. In the 60s, dangerously low levels of testosterone are considered normal levels by today's experts. If we took a look at the school tests in 1960 and before, it was so much more difficult than the test we have today. This can all be traced back to the Illuminati, Skull and Bones, and a man named John Dewey, a socialist, and his philosophies were passed down to his minions, who played a huge role in the educational system today. John Dewey was the most influential educator in the first half of the 20th century, utilizing the school system as an instrument for brainwashing the children. Destroying individualism was the purpose for the schooling system. Conform to society and groupthink. Here's a quote from John Dewey. Children who know how to think for themselves spoil the harmony of the collective society, which is coming where everyone is interdependent. Harold Rugg, who became the most influential minion of John Dewey in our educational system, his book, The Great Technology, was a layout to transform the minds of society to accept governmental control over the individual. He called for social reconstruction. One of the methods of mind control was rewriting the textbooks and the curriculums. Harold Rugg designed a new textbook called Social Studies, a textbook with a ton of topics jammed all together, politics, history, and much more all in one book. This was intentional to dumb you down. It made it possible by the omission of ideas and facts of key events to be left out. Via this omission, warping the narrative they wanted for the belief system for the new collective generations. The main goal was to destroy individualism. The whole idea of everyone getting trophies, even the losers, was planted by these guys years ago. This gets rid of competition and promotes the group think instead of the individual. Competition will make the student rise above the group. The anti-achievement is a breeding ground for failure. Everyone's a winner and no competition. None dare call it education. Lamar Alexander, at the 1989 Kansas Governor Education Conference, pushed an agenda to keep the schools open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. from 3 months old to 18 years old. Shortly after that conference, Lamar Alexander was named U.S. Secretary of Education by 322 Skull and Bones member George Bush.
I want to suggest that you create in Kansas a brand new American school. The brand new American school would be year-round, open from 6 to 6. These schools will serve children from age 3 months old to age 18.
We no longer see the teachings of facts and information as the primary function of education. Building a new kind of people must be part of education. Even the president of St. John's College in Santa Fe, New Mexico, says that college students' education are at a high school level and he can't teach them about the Roman Empire because they don't know the difference between there and there. Teaching children to pronounce words correctly is a form of racial injustice. This has been pushed by the media over the years and plays into the divide and conquer strategy. This goes all the way back to the dystopian novel 1984, what they termed Newspeak, which is a controlled language, simplified grammar, and restricted vocabulary designed to limit the individual person's ability for critical thinking. It is even proven that if you can identify and speak about your feelings and articulate what is happening to you, you are less likely to be violent. The design is to make people dumb down to a caveman level with grunts in language. Hoo, ha, ha. We can see this happening today with emojis replacing words in sentences. The word cool was created by the Tavistock Institute for the acceptance of drugs, just like the term teenager was never used until right before the Beatles were pushed worldwide. Not just the students deliberately dumbed down, but also the teachers. In 1998, a basic writing test was given to 2,000 teachers and 56% flunked. Massachusetts House Speaker was in an article in the Washington Times saying teachers' colleges' degrees are as meaningless as used Kleenex. The State Board of Education lowered the passing grade for the teachers to help more teachers pass to teach the students. So we can see today, with ChatGPT and AI doing all the work for this new generation. I remember when I was in school, all the kids and even myself were like, why would I learn math? I have a calculator and my phone eventually will be able to do it all. Well, by not learning certain things, even though the computer can do it, will dumb a person down. What are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. It's Donut. This has been lesson 2 to get it wicked smart for dummies.